All right. Hey there everyone, welcome to Penang in Malaysia. My name is Allam and I'm going to run through 5 things that I have kind of focused on to improve my photography. Now this is not a one-size-fits-all guide, this is not even a focus on composition, technical aspects, equipment or anything like that. It's more of a mental headspace and some tips that have just kind of helped change my photography for the better. Okay, so my tip number 1 is to make sure that you are shooting at the right time. Now I'm coming from a travel photography perspective. Now of course when you are on itineraries, whether that's your own itinerary or someone else's, this can be hard to manage. But if you can, make sure that you are shooting early in the morning or later in the evening, either just after sunrise or just before sunset. You've probably heard of the term of golden hour or magic hour. Honestly, it is the best time to shoot images. Now, embarrassingly, it took me longer than it should have to really sort of come to that conclusion. And what I would find myself doing is spending all day shooting and realizing that actually towards the end of the day or the beginning of the day is when I'd have my best images. So now I just make sure that during the middle of the day, if I can avoid it, I'll spend that time editing or doing something else. Now you can use a couple of apps to really improve your chances of shooting in those times. One of my favorites is called Rise. It just shows the golden hours for any location in the world on any date within the year, and you can set notifications for it as well, and it's really, really accurate. It's also a nice little interface that kind of like shows you how that's working. And then a second one is called the Photographer's Ephemeris, and this is a way that you can see on a location the exact angle that light comes in and sets. So you can see, you know, positioning up particular avenues of cities or locations behind a hill if the sun's going to set behind it or in front of it. It's really quite handy and they are definitely worthwhile downloading for your smartphone. And of course, when you are choosing your locations, you want to see visual references of, you know, what that location is going to be like in certain lights. Now, of course, Instagram is one of the best places to really search for both up-to-date and also just sort of premium images for certain places. Now I made a whole video about that. That's going to be linked up in this corner. I've been on YouTube so long now and I still don't know which one it is. It's going to be on that corner. That's also going to be linked in the description and you can go and check that out and see how I use Instagram for both up-to-date and also general overall inspiration for imagery. Tip number 2. Make sure that you are always carrying your camera. Now, I don't necessarily mean having a camera with you, but I mean physically having a camera in your hand. It's all very well, you know, traveling around with a camera, but if you don't have it in your hand, how are you ever going to be taking shots? Now, what I do is I generally force myself to just always have it either around my neck, in my hands, or just at my side some way. Because if there's ever an opportunity of something that I think, oh, maybe there's a shot there, if I'm holding the camera, chances are I will take that photo. If the camera's in my bag and I'm unsure if there's a shot to be had, I may just continue walking past and never actually take that image. So it's a simple tweak, but I think it makes a huge difference on, you know, actually capturing shots. Now, yeah, sure, you may get mediocre shots, but you may also get some winners that you didn't realize you had. So by being the person who always has the camera with you, you will become the forefront of everyone else's minds as a photographer. So when that comes to social occasions or events or, you know, maybe like friends and family's weddings or whatever, you can actually build on your experience of capturing images at those places that then could lead towards commercial experience. You're capturing images of the things that you want to be hired for, and that works both business-wise, but it also works for your skill level. Just have a camera with you in your hand, just keep taking shots. It takes practice and practice, but that is by far the best way to build yourself up there. Tip number 3 is to make sure that you saturate yourself within photography. You need to be living and breathing photography. Make sure you are following photographers on Instagram that inspire you. Subscribe to other photography YouTube channels. Just make it so that photography is your life. For me, when I come on trips, I try and plan everything around photography. So it's around the location, the timings, and you know, when it even comes to eating. So maybe we'll eat when the light is a little bit flat, or when we're in the location where we're kind of tired and we know that we've got some longer walking coming up. I really sort of think of photography first and everything else comes second. Now, of course, that can be difficult. Sometimes you're on a trip with other people, there are other itineraries involved. Maybe you're young and you're on a trip with your parents and you can't get away to do your own thing. If you could let the other people know in your trip that you really want to focus on your photography, you'd be surprised how things can sort of accommodate themselves towards that. Maybe people would like to, go to a viewpoint and see things. If you just tweak it to be like, can we go at this time, just because the images would be better, it may not even change the whole trip dynamic. But if you have your camera with you and you make it your focus and you really breathe it, it can make a huge impact on your images at the end of it all. Alright, so for tip number 4, you need to critically analyze what it is that you like about your images or other people's images. I want you to look into them really deeply and just find out, is it the focal length of what it was shot at? Is it the symmetry in an image? Is it maybe a color focus? Is it a busyness of detail, or is it a minimalist approach? Like, what is it that you really like about your images? And then fine-tune through your own photos how you are enjoying those. Write them down, keep a note of them, and then when you go out to shoot, try and look for those details. Try and focus on making your images fit that agenda of what it is that you like about images or like about other people's images. And then, if you really want to challenge yourself, reverse it. Do the complete opposite. Maybe you like a particular subject matter. Go and shoot something completely different and use that to improve your photography because you are shooting out of your comfort zone. So you're essentially just sort of creating a photography brief and then going out and shooting to that brief. All right, so tip number 5 is to go out and search for feedback for your images. Now, what I mean is approaching photographers or people who have a trusted eye in imagery to really critique your work, but seek the right person. It's no good taking your macro flower photography to a sports photographer and asking what they think, because they may not have that expertise because it's not their forte. So make sure you do seek out the right feedback and really try and understand a critical analysis of what it is that someone's saying. Now, my background is in design, so I'm always searching for feedback on things, and I've kind of created a thick skin on knowing that when someone's being negative about the work, it's not necessarily personal, it's just because it's not communicating the right thing. So if you can, try and get your images in front of people who have the experience and understand what it is that they're critiquing about the images. Don't take it personally, don't take it to heart. Try and really get to grips with how to improve your photography from someone who's maybe a little bit more experienced. Now, this also works for yourself, to go and critique other people's. Don't necessarily just go and search for the negatives in other people's images. That's no good for anyone involved. Just try and find the things on how things could be improved. Sometimes maybe there isn't something to be improved, but just knowing how to take feedback and how to give feedback can be really valuable in improving your photography. All right, so my final tip, call this a bonus tip if you like, it's all about being patient. Now, it takes time, it takes years and then some until you can really sort of get improvements on your work. You're not going to be amazing from the start. I mean, every photographer I know has spent years and years and years perfecting their craft. So personally, I've improved by reflecting on all of my past images, and I continue to reflect on my images as I'm taking them. If I'm not seeing ways in which I can improve them, then something is going wrong. Even images that I took last week, I'm always looking at and seeing ways in which I can improve them. And that's one thing I love about photography. It's a moving and evolving sort of creative art. It's always going to be changing with the way that you change. And that's what's so enjoyable about it. That's what I love about photography. And people see things in different ways, and there's no real right or wrong answer to it. But I can guarantee you, being patient and putting in the time really pays off. Now, it sounds really cliche to have this as a tip, but you'd be surprised how many people expect to get something because they've spent so much money on a particular camera. So don't stress about the specs. Don't be too harsh on yourself or your work. Just really enjoy the process of creating the images. And if there's anything that you've taken away from this video, you may even know all of these things already, you may be doing them all, but if there's anything that you can take away from this video, I hope it's kind of helped inspire or sort of trigger an idea of how you can improve your photography. And if you want to follow this journey a little bit further to see how my images are changing and where I'm heading, then make sure you do subscribe to this channel and you'll see plenty of photography vlogs around the world. So thanks for watching, everyone, and I will catch you in the next video. See you later. Bye bye.